stood on the observation deck of the horizon's edge, watching stars blur past the window. He had been a Navy SEAL for 12 years, but this mission was different. No combat, no weapons, just a uniform and a smile for the aliens who waited at the end of their journey. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Park stepped beside him. She was the ship's doctor, a kind woman who always found reasons to smile. First contact with an alien civilization. We're making history. Nodded but said nothing. His instincts, honed through countless missions, whispered warnings he could not explain. The Galactic Coalition had seemed friendly in their transmissions. They promised peace, trade, and knowledge, but something felt wrong. "You worry too much," said, patting his shoulder. "Not everything is a battlefield, Commander." "Maybe," replied. His back on Earth was Reaper. He had earned it through 12 years of successful operations, hostage rescues, and impossible missions. But here, millions of miles from Earth, that name meant nothing. He was just another human, just another member of the diplomatic crew. The alarm shattered the peaceful moment. Red lights flooded the corridors. The ship's computer announced in a calm voice that meant terrible things. Hull breach detected. Multiple contacts. Boarders on decks 3, 5, and 7. Straining kicked in instantly. "Get to the medical bay. Lock yourself in." "What's happening?" Fear filled her eyes. "Pirates, slavers, something bad. Go, now." She ran, moved in the opposite direction toward the nearest supply closet. The horizon's edge was a diplomatic vessel. No weapons, no armor, nothing but emergency tools and hope. He grabbed a metal pipe from a maintenance kit and a fire extinguisher. Not much, but he had worked with less. The creatures that came around the corner were not what Earth scientists had expected. They stood 7 feet tall, covered in gray scales, with 4 arms and eyes that glowed yellow in the dim emergency lighting. They carried weapons that hummed with energy. Did not hesitate. He sprayed the fire extinguisher directly at the lead creature's face, blinding it. While it stumbled, he swung the pipe at its knee joint. The creature fell with a sound like breaking glass, took its weapon and fired twice. The other 2 creatures dropped. His heart pounded, but his hand stayed steady. This was what he did. This was what he was built for. He moved through the ship, deck by deck. Every corner might hide death. Every shadow might hold an enemy. He found hiding in storage rooms and sent them toward the escape pods. He found bodies, too. Good people who had never expected violence, who had come to build bridges between species. He found in the medical bay. She had not locked the door fast enough. She lay on the floor, blood pooling beneath her. 3 more of the gray creatures stood over her body, searching through medical supplies. They did not see enter. The rage that filled him was cold, not hot, professional, not wild. He counted them, analyzed their positions, calculated the angles, then he moved. The first one died before it could turn around. The second managed to raise its weapon before stolen gun burned through its chest. The third actually got a shot off, but had already moved, rolling behind a surgical table. He came up firing. Silence fell in the medical bay, broken only by breathing and the hum of medical equipment that would never help again. He closed her eyes gently. "I'm sorry," he whispered. Then he kept moving, because stopping meant dying, and dying meant the creatures won. He made it to the bridge. Captain lay dead in his chair. They showed a massive ship outside, dark and angular, covered in weapons. More of the gray creatures worked at the control panels, downloading data. Counted 8 of them. Too many for a frontal assault, even for him. He was good, but he was not immortal. He was reaching for a grenade he had taken from a dead creature when something hit him from behind. Pain exploded through his body. His muscles locked. He fell, the stolen weapon clattering from his hands. A net covered him, crackling with electricity. He could not move, could only watch as one of the creatures approached. This one was larger than the others, with red markings across its scales. This one killed many. the creature said in a language did not understand, but the tone was clear. Respect mixed with anger. Strong for such a small thing. The pits will pay well for it. They dragged him to their ship. Other humans were already there, locked in cages. The ship's engineer sat in one corner, his face bruised. A young pilot who had talked about his family back in California stared at the floor with empty eyes. Commander whispered, "You're alive." "For now," replied. The gray creatures processed them like cargo. They scanned each human with strange devices, recorded data, argued in their harsh language about prices and markets. When they scanned, the technician paused. The device showed information from some military ID chip implanted beneath his skin. Name, rank, service record, and there in the Earth military database, Reaper. The technician looked at the word, tilted its head, then moved on. Just another human designation, meaningless. But saw it on the screen. His reputation, everything he had built over 12 years of service. And here, millions of miles from home, it meant absolutely nothing. The creatures threw him into a cage with the others. The ship's engines rumbled to life. Through a small window, watched the horizon's edge drift in space, dead and dark. Everyone aboard was gone. 43 humans sent to make peace with the galaxy. Now only 15 remained, locked in cages, heading toward an unknown fate. Sat in the darkness and began to plan. The creatures had made a mistake. They thought they had captured prey. They thought humans were weak, fragile things to be sold and broken. They would learn differently, would make sure of that. One of the creatures walked past the cages, laughing with its companions. It looked at and the other humans like they were animals, less than animals. Memorized its face. He memorized all their faces. He counted their weapons, watched their patterns, noted their weaknesses. Commander whispered, "What do we do?" "We survive," said quietly, "and then we teach them what happens when you hurt humans." The ship jumped to faster-than-light travel, carrying them away from Earth, away from everything they knew. But the Reaper had not given up. He never gave up. That was what made him dangerous. The prison moon of 9 was nothing like Earth. 2 suns burned in a purple sky, and the air tasted like metal. The structure they called the Crucible rose from the barren ground like a massive tooth, all black stone and glowing lights. And the other human survivors were marched through corridors filled with caged beings from dozens of species. Some looked almost human. Others were so strange that mind struggled to understand what he was seeing. All of them shared the same expression, hopelessness. The guards threw into a cell block with about 30 other prisoners. The cell was 20 feet square, with stone walls and a force field instead of bars. A hole in the corner served as a bathroom. That was all. And were shoved in behind him. At least they were together. "What is this place?" asked, his voice shaking. An alien in the corner answered. It looked like a large insect with multiple eyes and clicking mandibles. "The pits," it said in broken but understandable English. "You fight, you die, they watch, they bet." "Gladiator fights," his face went pale. "We're going to fight to the death for entertainment." "Yes," the insect creature said. "Most die in first fight. Humans are small, weak. You die fast, maybe." "Maybe," said quietly. He was already studying the cell, the guards, the routines. Every prison had patterns. Every system had weaknesses. That night, lying on the cold stone floor, moved closer to. "You've got a plan, right? You always have a plan." "Working on it," replied. "First, we need to understand this place. Then we survive long enough to find a way out. And if we can't escape, then we make them regret taking us." The next morning, guards came for. They dragged him through corridors while creatures from dozens of species watched. Some pointed, some laughed. To them, he was just another victim, another show. The arena floor was covered in sand that had been stained dark by blood. Walls rose 50 feet high, topped with viewing galleries packed with aliens. Thousands of them, all screaming and cheering. Across the sand, a gate opened. Something massive emerged. It stood 9 feet tall and looked like a cross between a bear and a rhinoceros. Armored plates covered its body. Its claws were as long as knives. The crowd roared with excitement. Stood still, breathing slowly, watching. The creature charged, shaking the ground with each step. At the last second, moved. Not backward, not to the side, but forward and down. He slid beneath the creature's charge, using the sand like a slip-hen slide. As he passed underneath, he drove his fist into the soft spot where the armor plates met on the creature's belly. It was not a killing blow, but it hurt. The creature stumbled, confused. Nothing had ever moved like that before. Rolled to his feet, sand clinging to his uniform. He circled, watching, waiting. The creature charged again. Again, evaded, this time grabbing one of its armor plates and using its own momentum to throw it off balance. The crowd's cheers turned uncertain. This was not how fights usually went. The creature grew frustrated and sloppy. It left openings, exploited everyone. He did not have weapons, but he had training and patience. He struck nerves, joints, soft spots. He made the creature bleed from a dozen small wounds. Finally, exhausted and confused, the creature collapsed, stood over it, breathing hard but alive. The crowd went silent. Then slowly, they began to cheer again, not because they wanted to win, but because they had never seen anything like him. The guards dragged him back to his cell. The other prisoners stared. "You won," said, disbelief in his voice. "You actually won." "I survived," corrected. "That's different." Over the next weeks, they forced to fight again and again. Each time, the crowd expected him to die. Each time, he won. He fought creatures with 4 arms, beings made of living crystal, animals engineered to kill. He won every fight, but not through strength or size. He won through strategy. He studied his opponents, found their weaknesses, used the arena itself as a weapon. Sand in the eyes, walls to break line of sight, patience to let aggressive opponents tire themselves. The other fighters began to fear him, not because he was the strongest or the fastest, but because he fought like nothing they had ever seen. He was methodical, patient, calculating. The word began to spread through the prison, whispers in 100 languages. The human, the small one, he does not fight like others, he hunts. Trying to protect the other humans, told the alien prisoners about his background. He's special forces, elite. Back on Earth, they called him Reaper. The aliens did not understand the word, but they repeated it anyway. Reaper. The human is called Reaper. After his 10th victory, the arena masters changed their approach. They stopped trying to kill him quickly. Instead, they saw profit. They made the fights longer, more dramatic. They put him against multiple opponents. They added obstacles and traps. Every time survived, and every time more of the galaxy watched. In the cell at night, gathered the humans together. "Listen carefully," he said quietly. "I'm mapping this place. Guard changes happen every 8 hours. There are 17 cameras in our section, but 3 have blind spots. The force fields run on a central generator on level 3. You're planning an escape," said. "Eventually, but we need more information first, and we need the right moment." "What if that moment never comes?" asked. "Then we keep fighting, we keep surviving, we don't give up," looked at each of them. "That's what makes us human, we don't quit." During his 15th fight, something changed. The arena masters put against 3 opponents at once. The crowd was enormous, thousands of aliens from across the galaxy, all betting on how quickly the human would die. The fight was brutal, took hits that cracked ribs, blows that left him bleeding. But he kept moving, kept thinking, kept fighting. He turned the opponents against each other, made them block each other's attacks, used their size against them. When it was over, 2 opponents were dead and 1 had surrendered. Stood in the center of the arena, covered in blood, breathing hard. The crowd did not cheer. They sat in silence, staring at the small human who refused to die. One of the guards, walking past as they dragged him back to his cell, spoke in broken English. "You fight good, little human reaper, but you still die someday." Stopped walking, he turned and looked directly at the guard, and he smiled. It was not a friendly smile. It was the smile of a predator who had just decided to add the guard to his list. The guard stepped back, fear flashing across its alien face. That moment was broadcast on the arena's screens. Millions of beings across the galaxy saw it. They saw a human, small and wounded, look at his captors without fear. They saw him smile like he knew a secret they did not. And for the first time, some of them began to wonder, what if the humans were not the prey? Back in the cell, leaned against the wall, cataloging his injuries, brought him water, sat nearby quiet. "They're scared," said. "I can see it, the guards, they're starting to fear you." "Good," replied. "Fear makes people sloppy, sloppy people make mistakes, mistakes are opportunities." And then what? Closed his eyes, thinking of and the others who died on the horizon's edge, thinking of home, millions of miles away, thinking of the message he would send when the time came. Then, he said quietly, they learn what Reaper really means. Officer Vila of the collective sat in her office, reviewing footage from the arena. She had watched the human-called fight 17 times now, and each viewing disturbed her more than the last. It was not his victories that troubled her. Many fighters won in the crucible. It was how he won. He moved with purpose, every action calculated. He never wasted energy. He studied his opponents like a scientist studying specimens. Vila was an intelligence officer, trained to see patterns others missed. And she saw a pattern in the human that made her skin crawl. She pulled up Earth's database, the files captured when they took the horizon's edge. They had not bothered reading them carefully before. Why would they? Humans seemed weak, their technology primitive. But now Vila read every file about their military. What she found made her blood run cold. Humans came from what the galaxy classified as a Class 12 death world. Extreme weather, natural predators everywhere, a history of warfare that spanned their entire existence. They had turned killing into an art form, developed weapons that could destroy entire cities, and fought each other for thousands of years before finally achieving peace. And their special forces, the elite soldiers, were trained to operate alone behind enemy lines. They could survive anywhere, kill silently, disappear like ghosts. Vila found the file marked Reaper buried in the classified section. Mission after mission. Hostage rescues with 0 friendly casualties. Infiltrations of enemy bases thought to be impenetrable. A success rate of 98% across 12 years. This was not a random human. This was one of their apex predators, captured by accident. She drafted an immediate report to her commanders. Recommend termination of human subject designated. Subject demonstrates capabilities consistent with Earth's elite military operators. Continued survival poses security risk. The response came back within hours. Negative. Subject generates significant revenue. Continue observation. Greed, Vila thought. It would be the death of them all. In the arena, the fights continued. The masters, sensing profit, began advertising special events. Watch the Human Hunt became the most popular show on 9. Beings came from across the sector to watch. They put against a warrior, a species known for their berserker rage. There was twice size and armed with energy blades. The betting screens gave a 2% chance of survival. The fight lasted 11 minutes. Won by making the so angry it could not think straight. He dodged, taunted, led it into walls and traps. When the finally collapsed from exhaustion and self-inflicted wounds, had barely been touched. The crowd's cheers sounded nervous now, uncertain. They put him against a shrike, a creature evolved to hunt in packs, all speed and teeth and venom. Studied it for the first 30 seconds, then executed a series of moves so precise that arena analysts would study the footage for months. The Shrike died not understanding what had killed it. After each fight, returned to his cell and added to his mental map of the facility. He knew the guard rotations now. He knew which doors were automated and which needed physical keys. He knew where the weapons were stored, where the power systems ran, where the blind spots in surveillance existed. Watched him work. You're not just planning an escape, you're planning something bigger. They took humans, said quietly. They killed 43 people on the horizon's edge. They put us in cages and made us fight for entertainment. He looked at with cold eyes. Yes, I'm planning something bigger. In his office, the arena master called reviewed revenue reports. The human fights were the most profitable events in the Crucible's history. He decided to push further. Simultaneous opponents, he ordered, 5 at once, and add traps to the arena floor, fire pits, spike walls, make it spectacular. His assistant hesitated. Master, the human has won 23 consecutive fights, some staff believe. Believe what? Snapped. That he is dangerous, more dangerous than we understand. Laughed. He is 5.5 feet tall and weighs perhaps 170 pounds. He has no weapons, no armor, no support. He is dangerous in the same way a particularly clever rat is dangerous, entertaining but ultimately insignificant. The fight with 5 opponents became the most-watched event in Crucible history. Millions across the galaxy tuned in. Many expected to see the human finally die. Stood in the center of the arena, facing 2 warriors, a soldier, something that looked like a living tank, and a creature made of crystalline blades. The fight was chaos, moved through it like a dancer, never where his opponents expected. He made them hit each other, used their own weapons against them, turned their aggression into confusion. When one of the fell took its energy blade. Now armed, he became even more lethal. 18 minutes later, 4 opponents were dead or incapacitated. The 5th, the soldier, dropped its weapon and raised its hands in surrender. It had seen enough. The crowd sat in absolute silence. Then slowly they began to leave. No cheers, no celebration, just quiet, disturbed beings filing out of the arena. They had come to see sport. Instead, they had seen something that terrified them, a human doing what humans did best. That night, Officer Vila's report finally reached the right people. A coalition observer, stationed on 9 to monitor the collective, read it with growing alarm. She immediately transmitted to Coalition Central. Humans are not Category 7 sentients as preliminary reports suggested. Recommend immediate reclassification. Human military capabilities suggest minimum Category 4, possible Category 3. Request full review of Earth contact protocols. The response took 3 days. 3 days during which fought and won 2 more battles. 3 days during which the word Reaper spread through the prison, through the guards, through the betting networks across the sector. Aliens who had never heard of Earth began researching humans. What they found disturbed them. A species that had survived extinction events, that had built civilization from nothing, that had gone from primitive tools to space travel in a mere 10,000 years. A species that, when cornered, did not surrender. They fought harder. In the cell gathered the human survivors. Only 12 remained now. 3 had died in the arena before had taught them how to survive. Listen carefully, said. In 2 days there's a large event, multiple fights. The arena will be crowded, security will be focused on the show, and guard shifts will overlap during the transition. That's when we go, asked. That's when we go. I've stolen 3 key cards, a communicator, and mapped the fastest route to the hangar. There are small ships there, maintenance craft. We steal one and run. What about the other prisoners? Asked. The aliens who helped us. Was quiet for a moment. Then, we open the cells. Those who want to run can run. But I won't risk human lives for people who might betray us. That's cold, said. That's survival. The next day, during his fight, did something he had never done before. When he won, he did not immediately return to the holding cells. He stood in the center of the arena and looked up at the viewing galleries. Thousands of alien eyes looked back, pointed at them, a simple gesture, but the meaning was clear: I see you, I remember you. Then he let the guards lead him away. That gesture, broadcast across the galaxy, caused something unexpected. Tourism to 9 dropped by 40% overnight. Beings who had planned to attend the fights canceled their trips. Some could not explain why. They just knew they did not want to be in the same building as the human. Officer Vila watched the footage and updated her report. Human subject has begun psychological warfare against captors and spectators. Demonstrates understanding of broadcasting systems and communication. Threat assessment, extreme. But the report came too late. In his cell, lay on the stone floor, eyes closed, breathing slowly. In his mind, he reviewed every step of the escape plan, every contingency, every possible problem. Watched him. You know this might not work, right? We might all die. Maybe, said, but I'd rather die trying to escape than die in their arena for entertainment. They're scared of you now, added. I can see it in how the guards look at you. Good, replied. His eyes opened, cold and focused. But they're not scared enough yet. When we leave, I want to make sure they never forget what happens when you capture humans. Tomorrow was the escape. Tomorrow, the galaxy would learn that the word Reaper meant something after all. Tomorrow, the hunt would reverse. The escape began at exactly 21:43 hours during the shift change. Had timed it perfectly. The force field on their cell flickered off for exactly 4 seconds, as it did every night during the power system's automated maintenance cycle. Most prisoners never noticed. Had counted it every single night for 6 weeks. He moved through the gap, silent as a shadow, and followed then the other 9 humans. Behind them left the cell door open. Other prisoners, aliens who had watched the humans and learned to hope, slipped out into the corridors. Chaos was part of the plan. The more confusion, the better. Led his group through passages he had memorized from studying guard movements and maintenance schedules. They passed 2 cameras, but he knew the angles. They stayed in the blind spots. The first guard they encountered was alone, checking cells on the lower level. He never saw coming. One moment he was walking, the next he was unconscious on the floor. Took his weapon and his communication device. Keep moving, whispered. Maintenance level, section 7. They reached a junction where 3 corridors met. Heard footsteps approaching. He signaled the others to hide, then stepped into the open as a patrol of 4 guards rounded the corner. They saw him and reached for their weapons, too slow. Shot the first one before the others could react. The second managed to raise his gun before his next shot dropped him. The third got a shot off that burned past shoulder, missing by inches. His return fire did not miss. The 4th guard ran. Let him go. Fear spreads faster than bullets. Weapons, said, tossing guns to him. Remember your training, aim center mass, short bursts. The facility's alarms began to wail. Lights turned red. Lockdown procedures activated, sealing sections of the prison. But had planned for this. He led them through maintenance tunnels that the lockdown systems did not cover, through ventilation shafts, through service corridors that guards barely knew existed. They emerged in the armory section, opened the door with one of the stolen key cards and found exactly what he hoped for: weapons, armor, and equipment from 100 different species. Gear up, he ordered. Anything that fits, anything that works. We have 4 minutes before they triangulate our position. The humans grabbed armor plates, strapped on protective gear, took weapons and ammunition. They looked less like prisoners now and more like soldiers. Accessed the facility's communication system through a terminal in the armory. His fingers moved quickly across the alien interface. Officer Vila's reports had been useful in ways she never intended. They told him exactly how the systems worked. He broadcast a message on all frequencies. "Attention, this is Commander of Earth. You captured us. You killed our people. You made us fight for your entertainment. Now you learn what happens when you hurt humans. Release all prisoners or I will tear this facility apart piece by piece." He closed the channel before they could respond. "That'll make them crazy," said. "That's the point," replied. "Angry people make mistakes." They moved toward the hangar, but the facility was waking up now. Guards poured into the corridors. Automated defenses activated. They were done treating this like a prison break. This was war. But this was also what had trained for his entire adult life. He led his group through a running battle that would be studied by military analysts across the galaxy for years. He used every tactic in the book: ambushes, flanking maneuvers, false trails, booby traps made from stolen equipment. The guards found themselves fighting an enemy who did not behave like escaped prisoners. These humans moved like a military unit, coordinated and deadly. When a squad of soldiers tried to cut them off at a junction, tossed a grenade he had taken from the armory. The explosion dropped the ceiling, blocking the passage. When another squad tried to flank from the ventilation system, was waiting with a weapon taken from a fallen guard. The humans moved through the facility like smoke, impossible to pin down. Every time the thought they had them cornered found another route, another escape, another way to turn the hunter into the hunted. In the security center, Officer Vila watched in horror as cameras showed the escape in real time. The human was not just escaping. He was systematically dismantling their security, exposing every weakness, making them look foolish. "Lock down sections 9 through 15, she ordered. "Deploy the assault teams. Use lethal force." But it was too late, had already passed through those sections. The humans reached the hangar after 31 minutes of running combat. Bodies of guards lay in their wake, and alarms screamed throughout the facility. The hangar was massive, filled with small craft used for maintenance and transport. Ran for the nearest ship, a sleek transport that looked fast. That was when the arena master made his appearance. He stood on the upper level of the hangar, surrounded by 20 guards, all weapons pointed at the humans. "You cannot escape," announced, his voice echoing through the hangar. "Surrender now and I will make your deaths quick." Stopped walking. He looked up at and smiled. The same smile he had given the guard weeks ago. The smile that had been broadcast across the galaxy. "No," said simply. Then everything happened at once, and his team took cover behind the ships as the guards opened fire. Energy bolts tore through the air, scorching metal and stone. But had planned for this too. During his arena fights, he had studied the facility's layout. The hangar's fuel lines ran along the ceiling, clearly marked for safety. He aimed at the pipes and fired. The explosion was not large enough to destroy the hangar, but it was large enough to create chaos. Fire roared across the ceiling. Guards scattered, fell from the upper level, landing hard. And his team ran for the transport ship. They piled inside as more guards arrived, took the pilot seat. "Can you fly this?" asked. "No idea," said, his hands moving over controls. "But I'm an engineer. How hard can it be?" The ship lurched into the air, wobbling dangerously, fought with the controls as weapons fire struck their hull. "Any time now," shouted from the back. "Working on it." The ship shot forward, nearly crashing into a wall before corrected. They blasted through the hangar's atmospheric shield and out into the purple sky of 9. Behind them, the facility launched pursuit ships. Faster, more maneuverable craft designed for exactly this situation. But they had not counted on being an engineer who understood how ships worked, or on being a tactician who understood three-dimensional combat. "Head for that asteroid field," ordered, pointing at a cluster of rocks orbiting nearby. That's suicide, protested. So is staying in open space, trust me. Dove toward the asteroids. The pursuit ships followed. In the asteroid field, their superior speed meant nothing. It became a game of reflexes and nerve. Wove between the rocks with increasing confidence. One pursuit ship clipped an asteroid and spun away, disabled. Another tried to cut them off and collided with a chunk of ice. Within 10 minutes, they had lost all pursuit. We did it, breathed. We actually escaped. Not yet, said. We need to get far away from here, and we need to contact Earth. As they jumped to faster-than-light travel, heading toward Coalition space, sent a final message back to 9. He hacked into the facility's communication system one last time. The message was simple, broadcast to every screen in the Crucible, sent to every betting house and news network that had profited from human suffering. This is Reaper, Earth remembers. We're coming for anyone who takes our people. Run while you can. Officer Vila received the transmission in the burning security center. She read it 3 times, then sent an urgent message to the Coalition. Human military capabilities severely underestimated. Recommend immediate diplomatic contact with Earth. Recommend sanctions against Collective. Recommend full investigation into human capture and imprisonment. Across the galaxy, beings who had watched the human fights, who had bet on human deaths, who had laughed at human suffering, read the message and felt something they rarely experienced: fear. Not fear of human strength or size or weapons. Fear of what the message represented. A species that did not forgive, that did not forget, and that would cross the galaxy to protect its own. In the stolen ship heading home, finally let himself relax. They had lost people, and 30 others were dead, but 12 humans were free, alive, heading home. What happens now? Asked. Now, said, Earth learns what the galaxy is really like, and the galaxy learns what happens when you mistake human kindness for weakness. Looked at him. They'll come after us, the others, they won't let this stand. Nodded. Let them come. Earth has been peaceful because we chose peace, not because we're weak. They wanted to see what humans can do in a fight. He looked out at the stars, thinking of home. They're about to find out. 3 months after the escape from 9, stood in a conference room at Earth's orbital command station. Across from him sat representatives from the Galactic Coalition, their expressions ranging from nervous to terrified. The story of the escape had spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Videos of fights had been analyzed by military experts from 50 species. His escape had been reconstructed frame by frame. The word Reaper was now known in every corner of Coalition space. Commander, the Coalition ambassador, a tall being covered in blue feathers, began carefully. The Coalition wishes to formally apologize for the actions of the Collective. They have been sanctioned, their trading privileges revoked, and their leadership removed. Sat quietly, his face showing nothing. We also wish to discuss Earth's military capabilities. Another representative, a being made of living crystal, added, Our preliminary assessment greatly underestimated your species. We would like to establish proper military exchange protocols. You want to know if we're dangerous, said flatly. The room went silent. We want to ensure peace, the ambassador replied. Understanding prevents conflict. Admiral Sora Han, Earth's representative, leaned forward. Let me make this clear. Humanity chose to approach the galaxy with diplomacy and peace. We sent scientists, doctors, and diplomats first. You saw us at our kindest, and you mistook that for weakness. She stood, her voice hard. The Collective murdered 43 humans. They enslaved our people for entertainment. That will not happen again, ever. Of course not, the ambassador said quickly. Which is why we propose a joint task force. Human and coalition forces working together to eliminate piracy and slavery throughout the sector. We would want Commander to lead this force, the crystal being added. His capabilities are exceptional. Finally spoke, "I'll do it on one condition. Any operation I run my way, no interference, no politics, and any human captive we find gets priority for rescue." "Agreed," the ambassador said without hesitation. Over the next 6 months, assembled his team. He chose carefully, looking for people who understood what the galaxy was really like. Joined first, he had proven himself during the escape and knew how to work alien technology. "Someone has to keep you from breaking all our equipment," he joked. Followed, the young pilot had found his courage in the Crucible and had no interest in going back to a quiet life. "Besides," he said, "someone needs to fly the ships while you're busy terrifying pirates." Came next. She was one of the aliens had freed during the escape. She had been a slave for 3 years before the Crucible, and she wanted revenge. More importantly, she understood how the slave networks operated. "I know their routes, their markets, their contacts," she told during her interview, "and I owe you my life. Let me help save others." Jin was a human marine who had survived 2 years of captivity before being rescued by coalition forces following the 9 incident. He was quiet and completely dedicated to making sure no other human suffered what he had. Rounded out the core team, she was a communications specialist who could speak 17 languages and hack most known communication systems. "Pirates talk a lot," she explained. "I'll make sure we hear everything they say." The team was small, only 12 members initially, but they were effective. They started with small operations, hitting slave markets and pirate bases. Each success brought more attention, more requests for help. Their first major mission came 4 months after formation. A human research vessel had been attacked near the Helios Drift. 3 crew members were confirmed captured. And his team arrived at the pirate base within 18 hours. They did not negotiate. They did not announce themselves. They simply attacked. The pirates never knew what hit them. His team moved through their base like ghosts, silent and deadly. They freed not just the 3 humans but 47 other captives from a dozen species. When coalition forces arrived to secure the base, they found the pirates tied up, their weapons confiscated, and a simple message painted on the wall: "Reaper was here." News networks across the galaxy covered the rescue. The footage showed human soldiers moving with precision and purpose, their tactics unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Within a year, his task force had conducted 23 successful operations. Not a single rescue had failed. Not a single team member had been lost. The slave markets began to collapse. Pirates stopped taking human captives entirely. The profit was not worth attracting Earth's attention. More importantly, other species began to realize that humans did not abandon their own. If you took a human, Earth would come. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but they would come. And when they did, you would face people like. The Galactic Coalition, seeing the effectiveness of human tactics, requested that Earth establish a military academy to train coalition forces. Admiral Sorahan approved and was asked to help develop the curriculum. "You want me to teach aliens how to fight?" asked her during a private meeting. "I want you to teach them how to think," Sora replied. "Strategy, tactics, the difference between strength and effectiveness. Show them why humans are dangerous not because we're big or strong, but because we never stop thinking." The academy opened 2 years after the escape from 9. Students from 30 species attended, taught the Advanced Combat Strategy course. On the first day, he stood before the class and said, "You all know the word Reaper. You've heard the stories. Some of you are here because you're scared of humans and want to understand us. Others are here because you respect what we can do." He walked between the desks, looking at each student. "I'm going to teach you how to fight like a human, not with weapons or strength, but with your mind. I'm going to teach you that every problem has a solution, every enemy has a weakness, and giving up is never an option." He stopped at the front of the room. By the time you leave this academy, you'll understand why one human with a plan is more dangerous than 100 warriors without one. The students learned. They learned about patience, about planning, about turning disadvantages into advantages. They learned that humans had survived on a death world not by being the strongest, but by being the. Meanwhile, task force continued to grow. What started as 12 people became 50, then 100. They recruited humans and aliens, anyone who believed in protecting the innocent and punishing those who preyed on the weak. Their reputation became legendary. Pirates told stories about the Reaper's team, warned each other to avoid human ships, cleared out of sectors when they heard rumors of the task force's approach. One night, 5 years after his capture, sat alone on the observation deck of their command ship. He looked out at the stars and thought about the people who had died on the horizon's edge. Found him there, can't sleep. Thinking, replied. About what? About how far we've come. 5 years ago, the galaxy saw humans as weak, as prey. Now they see us as protectors, as hunters. Sometimes I wonder if we've gone too far the other way. Sat beside him. You know what I think? I think the galaxy needed to see both sides of humanity. The kindness we showed when we first made contact, and the strength we showed when they tested us. They needed to learn that we're not weak, but we're also not monsters. We're just people who protect our own. Nodded slowly. Would have liked that explanation. She always saw the good in people. Then let's make sure her death meant something, said. Let's keep doing what we're doing, saving people, stopping slavers, showing the galaxy that humans keep their promises. The next morning, they received a distress call. A colony on the edge of Coalition space was under attack by raiders. 20 families, including 5 humans. Assembled his team. They had done this dozens of times now, but it never got routine. Every mission mattered. Every life saved was a victory. As their ship jumped to faster-than-light speed, addressed the team over the communication system. Remember why we do this. We're not just soldiers. We're not just rescuers. We're a promise that no one gets left behind, that Earth protects its own, that the word Reaper means something. He paused, then added, let's go show them what it means. The galaxy had learned many lessons about humanity in the 5 years since first contact. They learned that humans valued peace but were excellent at war. They learned that humans protected their own with terrifying efficiency. They learned that underestimating humans was a fatal mistake. But the most important lesson, the one that changed everything, was simpler. Humans did not forget, and they did not forgive those who harmed the innocent. The word Reaper entered galactic common language. It meant different things to different species, but everyone understood its core meaning, the price of cruelty. And somewhere in the darkness between stars and his team continued their work, hunting pirates, freeing captives, protecting the weak, living up to the promise Earth had made. We remember our own, and we will always come for them. The galaxy had captured a Navy SEAL and learned what fear truly meant. Now that same SEAL worked to make sure no one would ever need to feel that fear again, as long as they stayed on the right side of humanity's justice. Would have been proud.